Real quick before we start, I just wanted to mention that we do these podcast recordings live on Twitch. It's kind of a cool way for you guys to be a part of the conversation, as well as see the behind the scenes and the uncut versions of these episodes. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribing, leaving a comment, liking the video, all that stuff goes a long way. Same goes for leaving a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We have a striving community on Discord if you want to chat with other like-minded deathcore enjoyers, as well as just staying up to date with everything that's going on with the podcast. Last but not least, if you want to support the podcast, I'll be leaving a link down in the description wherever you are watching or listening on how you can do so, as well as links to everything else that I just talked about. With that out of the way, enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Brutality Podcast. My name is Dom, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Yan. And this week, we have the pleasure of talking to Colter of Killing of a Sacred Deer and many other things, as we're going to get into. Colter, welcome to the show. How you doing, man? Good.
Thanks for having me. This is cool.
Oh yeah, of course, mate. Of course, I'm excited to speak with you. I guess specifically because you're kind of like in the very. I guess I know it's been in the works for a little bit, but a brand new release. It's rare that we get to talk to a band that's only been out for a couple of weeks. So I'm excited to get into it with you. How's talk to us about putting out the project, kind of like how it came to be and how the reception's been so far.
Yeah, really good. I don't know. I'm bad at paying attention to that stuff. I don't ever really know how anything's being perceived. I'm bad at being perceived. So, I think it's doing well. Yeah. I haven't gotten I haven't got any negative feedback actually, which is, I think, the best thing you could ask for. So.
And rare.
Very.
Yeah,
I was expecting it, honestly.
On the internet, yeah.
With like the band name and everything, I was expecting more like confusion or like hate from it, but everyone's just like, that movie whips ass. I think one person said they didn't like the movie, and I was just like, yeah, that's fair.
To be honest with you, the name is the thing I instantly kind of liked on my part. It was like, the name is awesome, and I didn't even know the movie, so just from an outside perspective, I was like, that's a cool name. I think I told you, Dom, when you said when you sent it to me, I was like, that's awesome. But from my perspective, it's received very well, dude. Honestly, like you guys have definitely a hype around your band, which is rare, especially with the amount of music we have. We were talking about that earlier, but it's like there's so many different things. So to nail like a vibe, a following, people being excited about new stuff, I think you guys nailed it.
Yeah, it's nice. Like you said, there's so much music now. It's so easy to just overlook new things because there's going to be 20 new things every week that come out. So exactly. The fact that anyone gave it a bit of time means a lot to me. So I'm really excited about it. It's good.
So tell me a little bit, because you've got other bands. You're in World of Pleasure and Serration, which are two more hardcore and like metalcore. Both. I mean, Serration is more kind of an old school vibe ish, but you've got a lot of old school, I guess, nostalgic aesthetics, I guess, throughout kind of all of it. I find in terms of the imagery and stuff like that. And then I think yet again with this project, you kind of see people throw in the MySpace deathcore kind of moniker to what you're doing, but I'd be curious, like where the inspo came for the band initially, and what kind of prompted you to do this project in the first place, because this is pretty different from the other stuff that you've been doing, snare sound aside.
Yeah, just copy paste my snare. For the band, yeah, I don't know. I just like writing music, and I like putting out a lot of music, and like I'd be lying if I say I wasn't going for like that MySpace resurgent sound. I kind of grew up on it a little bit. It was always like a part of my life, I think. Just like what you come across. on the internet, especially like learning about heavy music when I was super young. I couldn't believe that anything could sound that crazy. So it just like is fun to write. It's really fun. I write Serration as well. So I kind of was just like, I'll do that and just like ramp it up to be as extreme as I can make it, which I kind of think in some vein it is very, very similar to Serration, but obviously its own thing. And the blast beats are much faster. Yeah, breakdowns are a little slower, more abundant.
Yeah, I think there's like, I don't know. It's kind of like a, I don't know. When I listen to it, there's like, because we're like in kind of the height right now. Who knows how far it'll go? But right now, I think we're kind of like at a peak of like the kind of what you're alluding to, the resurgence of like that kind of MySpace deathcore, you know?
OG deathcore, yeah.
Yeah, that like kind of like original kind of sound. But that comes in like so many different flavors, right? Because the original sounds were like so varied. It was, some of it was way more brutal death, some of it was way more hardcore focused. You had like a blend of everything in between. Some was kind of more grindcore. It's kind of like a bunch of different. Yeah, even there. So it's like, but when I listen to your stuff, I feel like it's more, there's some modernness to it as well, which I think a lot of the bands that are doing the OG deathcore sound right now are kind of going all in on the old sound, but like it's kind of just that. Was that something that was kind of a part of the thought process for you, like still making it sound, I guess, fresh or still innovating within that genre? Because I think maybe we'd listen to some other bands and they kind of sound like other bands, whereas yours doesn't, right? Like it's its own thing. It's still innovating despite having like some of the tropes.
For sure. First off, shout out Jordan. Odalali Recordings right there, Purple Heart. He's another core member of KSD. He helped me write the record. He mixed it, recorded all that stuff. So shout out Jordan. And yeah, no, I didn't want it to sound exactly like something you heard before, but I wanted to write music that made you feel like, oh, I've heard this before. You know what I mean? It's not like this sounds exactly like this or whatever. You kind of got to take that like next step to not just sound like something that already exists, but still pull from a place that, I don't know, that you like. You got to write music that you like, I guess. Serration's the same thing. Like, it's all, us starting that was like, we love the band Turmoil and like Martyr AD and all that stuff. So we're like, yeah, let's start a band like that. No, we don't want to sound exactly like them. We want to sound like our own band, but like those are bands that we're going to look to for something to draw from, for like inspiration or like a direction you want the band to go in, right? Yeah. So in that sense, I didn't want it to sound like it was recorded in my bedroom. Jordan has a huge studio. It's really nice. So we used it to our advantage, kind of did our best to make it sound more modern, but still have that sound that people like from when they were kids, myself included.
Yeah, because I think that's the interesting part. Taking some elements from the past so that it brings you back. But I feel like if that's the only thing you get from it, it's kind of just, you know what I mean? It's missing something. So like the most important part is making it your own and bringing some different element that we didn't have back then. And now you have something interesting. You know, we had that discussion with you guys, what you're doing, because I think you're nailing it. I was talking about the beat down parts you guys have. It's something that you really kind of, you know, you really nailed the mix, which is difficult to make, especially, you know, bringing back the old sound with modern stuff also. And like we were talking about Psychoframe. I don't know if you like what they're doing, but like keep talking about Psychoframe. Like they took some things from the past, had certain things, and now they're unique. And I feel like you guys really nailed that in a similar way. And I would guess it's one of the reasons why there is like a hype and stuff, because it's not just like, oh, here's this MySpace thing. It's like, hey, here's our spin and we're still going to bring you back type thing. So that's kind of what I got.
Psychoframe's kind of the blueprint for taking that old sound and making it something that you hear today and you're like, this is a new thing, but it makes me feel good like all the old things I like.
Exactly.
I find with like I love all the resurgence. So like every single band that's come back and is like recreating that sound is awesome. And I do listen to it and I enjoy it all. But I find a lot of times, not just with deathcore, but like any music that is trying to sound like something from before, I'll listen to it and I'm like, this is really good, but it just makes me want to listen to what the band that they're trying to sound like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that I get that.
We're not in the same space either, right? Like I get it. Like some music is kind of more timeless than others, but there's certain things that, you know, don't exist necessarily anymore. And because we've moved on, right? where I feel like some bands are trying to sometimes maybe recreate stuff that, you know, we're past that, right? Like we have moved on. We are. I always kind of say like now we know what we know. We can't like go back. We can't turn back the times and be like as excited about something as though it was the first time we've heard it because we've already heard it before. So
and we have that stuff still.
Right, it still exists too, right? Yeah,
so
to Colter's point, it's kind of like, yeah, I'll go back and listen to that band they're trying to rip off if it's reminding me of it.
Yeah, I suppose it's all the intention of what you want to do with your music project or your band or whatever. If you just want to make music so people can listen to stuff that sounds like exactly like a band you're trying to replicate, dope. But I mean, if you're trying to like get traction and find new people to listen to your band, they're probably just going to be like, oh, it sounds like this old band I listened to. It's old.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think all that to say though, I think that's the hard part, right? Like I think a lot of people would want to make something different, but they're not necessarily capable of doing it, right? Like there's like talent involved in that as well. Putting your own spin on something, being able to create your own sound isn't like something that everyone can just kind of pick up and do.
That's true.
I don't know. I think it makes it all the more special when someone does, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What are some of the bands that, you know, you were kind of, because we're talking about maybe like looking at some bands for inspiration and stuff, like what kind of bands were you particularly into or looking towards when you kind of started thinking about this project? Do you recall any bands in particular?
Yeah. I always blank as soon as I'm asked the question, but I think it was like early Carnifex, early Thy Art, like stuff like that. I don't know. Yeah, see, you asked me and then I just blank on it.
Well, you gave two great answers to be fair. So
yeah, that one Carnifex record with Slit Wrist Savior is like a big one that I was like, yeah, this is really, really cool. Obviously, early Suicide Silence, without like who doesn't? If you're going to be writing deathcore, that's kind of again blueprint style deathcore, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I could probably maybe try and find some like
no, that's cool. No, but I was just curious because it's always interesting to kind of know like what bands people are into and stuff like that. What was kind of like the moment where you were like, hey, like I want to specifically do this? Because I was reading somewhere how you're pretty intentional with like when you're writing for something, you're pretty intentional about it. So I guess at some point it was kind of like, hey, I want to dig into doing this thing. Like, how did it kind of form into? Because I'm sure maybe you had some throwaway riffs, or maybe you had some, you know, like I'm like trying to piece together like when the initial idea came to like actually have an EP, and then eventually, you know, you reached out to Waxvessel and stuff. I know you worked with them on Serration and stuff like that. But how'd that all kind of like come together? I'm curious.
So Nick's awesome. He did that compilation for Serration a long time ago. And it like really helped my band, and like he's always just been super supportive of me and my projects and everything like that. And he had reached out to me a handful of times to do something with like World of Pleasure or Serration again, and we didn't have anything really that I could give him to put out. So I'm always writing music, whether it's heavy or not heavy. So I kind of already had some stuff in mind and writing. So I was just like, I can get this band rolling and we can do something like this. And kind of he played a part in making everything happen. Like we worked hand in hand. He got the logo done for me. We did the art all together and everything like that. And he kind of just was like, yeah, give me a record and we'll put it out. I said, okay, no problem. And that's kind of how it all came together. But then, yeah, now we're planning shows and stuff like that. So just kind of getting the ball rolling slowly. Obviously, it was all going to be based off of what type of attention it got. Like, we put it out and everyone was
Right.
like,
If it
this
flopped,
shit is ass, back to the drawing board, right? But
Yeah.
seemingly it's pretty positive. So we'll definitely keep doing things.
Cool. So you're looking into shows, new music, kind of actually taking this and rolling with it.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. Talk to me. Cause like, I guess there's similar situation for you in World of Pleasure where like you write a lot of the music. The band isn't a full band per se. You've got like homies come up and play the shows with you whenever you guys have shows or tours and stuff like that. How does it work for this band? Is it because
it'll be similar,
it
I
mainly
think.
you and your producer who wrote and put out the record? It was mainly the two of you, right?
Yeah. So I wrote everything. And then he did the interlude, Dried Flowers. And then he also did the last song, Intro. He wrote that. And then, yeah, I just like we worked on it together and made that a thing. He did full part in that. And then obviously he helped with like production and everything like that. I sent him ideas and just writing in general, but I sat down and like, did everything with the music. And as for like people playing and stuff like that, I'll just like probably pull from the roster of homies for shows.
Right.
World of Pleasure is kind of the same way. Jess and I literally did that because we were just talking about how Western Canada doesn't really have any vegan straight edge bands, especially that are modern or like active. So we're like, we should just write one because we had a bunch of free time. I don't remember if there was a pandemic or not, but there was a bunch of free time. So we wrote a demo. She tracked over it. We put it out, not thinking anything of it. It was literally just to put it out for fun and be like, now Western Canada has a vegan straight edge hardcore band. You know what I mean?
Now this exists. Yeah.
And then it was like, it got so much attention. We were kind of forced to be like, okay, I guess we have to play shows and stuff like that. And now we have to find a full band of people who are vegan and straight edge and proficient at playing instruments and will travel to play music. So that, happened. So after that, I was like, oh, this is a thing that can just happen. I can just like write music. And then I have so many talented friends and everything that are willing to play shows and do things that it's kind of just opened a bunch of doors for me to write more music and do more things like that.
That's a cool position to be in, I guess. It's kind of probably freeing to be able to, because I guess like to what you were just saying earlier too, like with this band, you could have put it out and it could have flopped, but then I guess the stakes weren't high in the sense that like worst case that you just don't continue with it type of thing, right? Like you didn't like pull together a bunch of people to do this. It's a low lift kind of thing, right? Outside of like recording and all that is still
that's
like
my
there's money
biggest
involved and
advice.
stuff, but
my biggest advice for people in bands or starting bands, especially like I've been in bands and playing music and touring and recording and writing music for well over a decade now, like a long time. Like I've been doing it a long time. To me, it feels like. And my only advice is like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Sometimes like, I know what it feels like to be like super proud of something you put everything into and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, it's not being received well. It is what it is. Like you can't shove it down people's throat and be like, it's good. Promise. Listen to it. People don't want to hear it or like aren't latching onto it organically. Then it's just like, maybe hit the drawing board again. Start another band. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. You can have 5 bands. Like there's nothing stopping you from having as many bands as you want.
Yeah, and a lot of big bands that we see today were in multiple other projects before that, and even at the same time, it's quite, yes, sure, we have some stories of people like they start one thing that's what works, sure, but it's like, look at any company's business, anything, like how many people, I don't like saying that, but like fail before. Like to me, it's not a fail, but like try things before until they finally get there. And there's absolutely no shame in that. It's just the curve and the learning. If you were in 8 bands before the one, who cares?
But I think it's true because you touched on like it's like, oh, it's your project, it's your baby. It's like, I think people get very attached to their things and they just want to make this thing work.
Yeah,
and I get that, right? But
yeah, it's
like, but to your point, like then you just kind of like put out a 3-song demo thinking nothing of it. And that's the thing that kind of pops up, right?
It was a joke band. It was like satirically written. Like it's so militant it can't be perceived as something serious that like, you know, 100-pound girl who's 5 feet tall is gonna like kill you and skin you and whatever for not being vegan. You know what I mean? It's satire, but people go crazy for it. I can't. We were both just like absolutely dumbfounded, and it was the last thing we ever thought would get traction, because like Jess, at the time I wasn't in Mortality Rate, but there's Mortality Rate, and then I was in Serration, and we were touring a lot and doing lots and putting out records, and you know what I mean? And then things started slowing down because of the pandemic. It's like, okay, let's just put out a little demo, and then now that's our most noteworthy band, which is crazy because it was a joke. Not a joke, but like
no, but kind of like purposefully over the top. I think there's something like freeing about. It's kind of like it kind of brings you back to something a little bit more youthful, because it's kind of like it gives off this I don't give a fuck energy. You know, you're just like not thinking about it too much, because it's just that takes the pressure off. And I think a lot of projects, that's a fairly common story. I think the kind of joke band or side project or a thing you're just doing for fun that kind of ends up being the main gig, because like that's what people end up resonating with the most.
Totally.
Sometimes we try too hard. You know, I think that's what a lot of it is.
I did that for a long time. You just like put a lot of too much into something, and then if it fails, you're like, not fails, but like isn't received as well as you feel like it should be received, that it feels like a failure to you and you're bummed out, right? Like, I don't know, it's worked out better for me having a is what it is attitude versus like, God, I hope this does well, or else like I'm gonna go lay in the highway.
I mean, you kind of started off the interview kind of talking about how you don't really know much about the metrics or keep track of it or any of that stuff. I'm assuming that's kind of just, you know, that's just how you are, right? It's kind of served you well so far.
A little bit, yeah. Like I'll watch it and take a peek at it, but I'm not like, oh, it's slowing down, or like, I don't know. I'm not watching it too closely. I try not to, and I just try and stay busy. So you know what I mean. I got one project on the go. I'm writing other music for other things and doing stuff like that. So stay busy.
So man, you play like all instruments, right? Like actually play, like you I've seen photos of you live on guitar, on bass, you're doing vocals on this thing, on drums. You keep busy for sure.
Yeah. I play all instruments. Am I good at all instruments? That's debatable. That's up in the air. I would say I'm good at drums. I'm proficient at guitar. Like I can write music. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I really like playing bass. Bass is really fun. Apparently I can do vocals.
It's because you've got a bunch of features on this album, but most of the vocals are yours on this project?
Yeah, primarily it's all me. I mean, obviously for the obvious features. My brother did the first song. He's in a band here in Calgary called Guiltless. Fraser. It's just like I got all my friends. I was like, hey, I'm doing this project. Do you want to like do a song? Just hit them up, and then a week later they send me some stems.
Yeah,
it's awesome. So just like meeting people and touring and making good friends, you can do stuff like that. Be like, hey, do you want to come do this? Obviously, Cody and Jess live in the same city as me, so I was just like, come over and record something.
Yeah. That's kind of the same vibe you have going on with World of Pleasure, right? There's a bunch of other people involved there too, and
yeah, I don't know. That kind of ended up being accidental. We again, lots of vegan straight edge fans, because like vegan straight edge is such a not small, but like tight knit community in hardcore, like globally, that you just like meet people and know people. And then we have a lot of vegan straight edge friends where it's like, well, it makes sense that you do a song with us. And then it ended up just being every song we're like, all right.
Yeah, it just kind of, I guess it makes it fun, right? There's like something more to it than, I guess maybe for you guys personally. I'm sure, it's one thing to be like, oh, okay, there's like this name on a song or whatever, but usually kind of is just more.
It's a pain in the ass live, because then we got to find people to do all the guest parts, or I have to do them while playing an instrument.
Yeah. I mean, you seem to be pulling it off for what it's worth.
Thank you.
Yeah, the core part, I think, is you have a cool circle. Like you could tomorrow just start a project and you would have names in mind. Oh, let's do that with that person. Like I feel like that's like quite a big asset to have as a musician. Like that's very often what people lack. Like they want to start things and stuff, and they don't have. And I think it's cool for you that, I mean, you build that, but like it's cool that you have something in mind. You're like, oh yeah, let's just do it with these people. Like I think that's amazing to have a circle like that in music.
Yeah, I feel really lucky to know so many like talented people that are also, I can call them my friends and like go to them and do things with them, and you know, all this stuff. I feel really lucky that I have that. It's pretty cool.
Plus, you play every instrument, so you can basically just choose what you do in the next. In the next
I started
project.
doing this thing. I mean, I have more bands than like the ones you mentioned. I've started bands locally too, like all hardcore bands. Well, I don't even know what year it was. 2022. I got COVID, so I had to stay home for 10 days from work. And I just wrote. I was bored, so I wrote a demo. I, you know, did all the guitars, everything, and then I just had like, I don't know, what is it, like 10-minute demo. It was like 4 songs for this hardcore band. It's called Delusion. And my one friend Evan hadn't been a vocalist in a band. He's actually from I'm gonna get it wrong. He's from so many places. He says Ottawa. He's from Ottawa, but he's in Implant. He's in Calgary. He's moving again. But it's been a while since he was in a band. So I was like, Evan, do vocals on this. You need to be in a hardcore band again, because he had been in bands for so long and hadn't for a while. So I was just like, here you go. Here's a full demo. We'll find people to play guitar and bass and everything. And then we did, and we played a handful of shows, and he did vocals, and it was fun. And it still is fun. The band's like still kind of doing things, and I pop in and do what I can when I can. But I like doing stuff like that. Being able to just like write a body of music and be like, here you go, is cool. I enjoy it a lot.
Kind of lives on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you would probably not, you know what I mean? Like the result you have with, you know, and the hype and what you have is part of the experiences you had in the past and everything you tried and everything. So like it's definitely, it goes to show like if you limit yourself too much, it's not good. Like if you have things in mind, you want to put it out, you want to try things. I think that's how also you evolve and you try. You know, you get to try different stuff. Like how many kind of music did you do, you know, during all those years? But it makes you a different musician now and a new perspective. So I think it's part of the process, definitely.
Yeah, I don't think this is for metal and like death metal and deathcore specifically, I guess. But I think a lot of musicians in our kind of genres, our kind of niche, they kind of stick to that, you know? There's like no...
They do one thing.
They do one thing. It's like I write deathcore riffs, and they don't really venture out into necessarily other genres, or it's kind of like narrow-minded, which is clearly the opposite vibe of yourself, right? But
you can get really good at doing one thing for sure. If you're the best of the best, and like all the power to you. I feel like I'm not that talented, so I'm just like, all right, I'm going to do a bunch of things and be okay at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true for sure. If you give your 100%, like if you keep doing, of course, that's one way. But I feel in terms of like writing in a unique way, I feel like you going in other completely direction. I'm talking like acoustic music, other stuff that has nothing to do with it. I feel like when you go back and you're right, it's a different, like you can tell someone who's only doing one thing and someone who ventures in different things. Like it's a different perspective. The weird, you know, they're going to bring some weird riff that you're like, what is that? So I think you can do both, but personally I love writing music with people that, you know, ventured on in other stuff. It makes it more unique in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that kind of like growing up, we were talking about like that MySpace deathcore, listening to stuff. It was always, I really liked weird stuff that had deathcore, but it had like weird stuff in it, like War from a Harlot's Mouth or Arsonists Get All the Girls. And it's just like, they have like weird jazzy swing parts and like keyboard parts, and like just everything stops. And then I think that maybe kind of plays into what you were saying of, I'm sure they don't just listen to deathcore and they're
well, nobody did back then, right? Because there wasn't much other deathcore, especially like early on, right? Like they were influenced by other things inherently. So that's I think the main reason why we we had so much interesting stuff back in the day, like when it all started, and everything sounded really different. No one was, now it's fans of deathcore doing deathcore mostly, whereas before it was like fans of other genres making deathcore.
Yeah,
it wasn't even really called deathcore, but it ended up being that. But that's kind of like, there's such a big difference there.
Yeah, I'm also really bad with like genres. I don't know. I call one thing, and then someone's like, "That's not that." Well, I don't know. Then
who cares?
So
Ultimately,
many,
right? It's we're at least, I feel like maybe like we're in a better place ish now. I don't know how it is in other scenes, but for like deathcore specifically, people were such snobs for a number of years about like being hyper specific on the sub genre of a band. It's like, no, that's I feel like we care a little bit less now. I certainly don't give a fuck, but I feel like generally like we're a little bit better at that. For a while it was insufferable.
Oh
yeah, it kind of gave you like an extra,
like mad. You called that band this, it's not that. I'm just like, the band themselves don't care.
Yeah, literally. It was like kind of gave you some extra swag about yourself if you could name the 7 genres that a band fit under. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's one of those things. Like, to me, as long as I understand what you mean, who cares? As long as I get what you're talking about, I think that's the important part. But like knowing that, no, this album they were a little more brutal, technical. Like, we're talking about the same band, same album, same thing. Like, I think
I would never stop someone if someone did call me and I'm like, "Killing of Sacred Deer is not deathcore," I'd be like, "Okay, I'm not gonna fight you on that." Or like Seration's been on like mathcore podcasts or like playlists and stuff, and I'm like, I feel like I'm not good enough at instruments to be on a math or anything. Like, everything's 4/4.
Mm-hmm. It's the dissonance. The second you've got dissonance in the music, you're kind of like, okay, I guess this is kind of mathy, I guess.
Yeah, you have like,
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
I'd love to talk a little bit about if there's any lore behind Killing of a Sacred Deer and I guess some of the lyrical content or the album in general, because I know you seem to like to plug references and nostalgia and like Silent Hill references in some of your music and stuff like that. So I'm curious if there's anything that you have in mind with Killing of a Sacred Deer and the EP, if there's like any inside lore we wouldn't know about. And there's like the Re-Dead, scream, the sample, there's like these small things like that I don't know, it makes it more intricate, more interesting. I don't know if there's more stuff like that you can speak to.
I think I'd be lying if I told you I've ever had an original thought. I am a product of just all the media I've ever consumed in my life. And
as we all are.
Yeah,
I mean, that just is,
I'll just claim it. Like, no, I'm not like, I'm the first one. Like, I just came up with this because I'm dope. Like, no, not at all. I heard something. I was like, okay, I like that. I want to like turn that into something. Pretty much everything I do is just, most of the songs were either about just really nerdy shit.
We love that.
Yeah, like video games. Obviously, the band's named after a movie. When I seen the title of that movie before I even watched it, I was like, damn, that would make a badass metalcore band name. I thought like 90s metalcore worship style band. I was like, if I ever do another metalcore band, I want to name it that. And then I had that name shelved. And then when this project came around, I was like, oh, cool, I can use this name finally. So like, Yorgos Lanthimos movies. I really like Silent Hill. Like, really, like, collect all the things. I've played through them all a million times. I think they're really cool. One of the songs. Do you
have Silent Hill references in Killing of a Sacred Deer?
Heavily. Silent Hill is Heaven Progenitor, is both Silent Hill and kind of like Evangelion. It was kind of just like,
cool.
I don't know if you guys are into anime or whatever, but I'm not like super into anime, but the ones I'm into, I'm like very into. Like, I got one.
Yeah, there we go.
Just while we're here, I think it's,
yes, sir.
I have like that's my Demon Slayer setup on my
Hell yeah.
on my thing. Huge
That's
nerd.
I don't love like all the animes, but the ones I do I really like, and I just like Evangelion. I probably watched it through 20 times. I will continue to watch them over and over again. Those things like that, I think is so cool.
I'll resist asking you too many questions about animes right now. Like I'm gonna refrain myself from that. But I think it's cool though.
I kind of stick to the OGs like Berserk, Evangelion. Silent Hill is a huge one. I don't even remember what songs are on this fucking record. Let me look.
to be fair,
actually,
you have many
Mangled
projects, so it's not.
Yeah. I do this thing where I'll like write music and then I'm like, oh, we got to play a show. Okay, I got to sit down and learn all the songs now. Again. Scarlet Halo is about kind of like the Crusades and Dante's Inferno, primarily the video game, like that pulls from the Divine Comedy, which is cool.
Yeah.
Me and my brother wrote that together, and we always liked that whole vibe. The Dante's Inferno anime was really cool, we thought, and then the game was fun, and so that's kind of what that song is about. 25.4 with Frasier is that's just being silly, over the top, like killing someone you hate. Like, I don't know, just there's no pull from that other than just being over the top. Frasier went crazy with it. Mangled Flesh Cathedral is exactly the scene from the Silent Hill movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
It's been so long, dude.
It's been a while, but yeah.
I know I've seen people asking what the sound clips and stuff are in that song. It's the scene from Silent Hill where Pyramid Head picks up that girl and like tears all her skin off and throws it at the church.
Yeah.
That 10-second scene is what that 2-minute song is about. That's it. That's all. Like all the sounds are the skin being torn off of her and then like thrown. That's all it is. Yeah.
That's so sick, dude.
It fits the vibe to be.
I thought so. I was listening to a lot of Visceral Disgorge, so I was like, this I think would be cool.
Yeah, and just while we're talking about Silent Hill, I feel like, that's the best horror art style I've ever seen. I think, like, in general, like the vibe and art style, especially that it's kind of old if you think about it. Like it's not like it's been there. Like I was playing Silent Hill games on like PS1 or 2, I don't remember, but like it's been there for forever and it still holds up. Like I think in horror especially, there's things that really holds up, or things that just you look at it and you're like, well, but Silent Hill is one of those, just the art style, the look, like the creature, like the ambience and everything, like it's just perfect,
The
like
psychological horror is that what I like so much about it. It's not like jump scare.
Yeah.
It's not like so like fucked up looking that it's like gross or whatever. And the biggest thing that I appreciate the most about it is always like the original Team Silent is, I believe it's Akira Yamaoka that does all the OST for it. His like sound design and OST for the games are actually like scary to listen to when you're playing the game. It's the atmosphere that scares the shit out of you. Yeah. It like makes you uncomfortable to hear things in the game. And that's what I like so much about it. Like sonically, it's scary. It makes you uncomfortable. It puts you on edge, like the sounds. And like, that's what I appreciate so much about like Silent Hill and its style of horror. And I guess I've always used that as kind of a crutch to write music. I'm like, okay, if like this can make you feel uncomfortable or like scared, I feel like that's a good premise for heavy music.
You bring up a really good point, though, because I feel like I'm not a big fan of jump scares in general, personally. Like watching something the whole time, to me, and a lot of people in horror fans are kind of fighting me on it, but like to me, it's kind of the easy way to scare. Boom, you're scared. You know what I mean? Like I love when it's
like
more,
a jump.
Yeah, it's just, anybody could make that. Let's put like a loud noise and just like put something. Like to me, it's really easy. I prefer being almost troubled, like watching something and just being like, that it makes me think type thing. I'm like, oh my God, like uncomfortable kind of horror is something that gets to me more. So I think it's the point you're bringing is I think Silent Hill really brings you in the universe instead of just being like, hey, that's scary, be scared, hey, that's scary. Like it's just it's an experience type thing, is what I'm trying to say.
I think the perfect example of that for like a movie would be like the Ari Aster. Like, have you seen Hereditary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple little jump scares in it, but genuinely, like, that movie start to finish is so uncomfortable, and there's so much things that's just like, to me, that's really scary. Being uncomfortable and just like, stuff like that. And I always try and, like, sonically, I think if you're gonna make music that's heavy, breakdowns, maybe scary is something you should go for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of...
We always talk about we say this specifically, though, that a lot of deathcore now is not scary. Like, we want the scary back in deathcore. Like, it's a thing.
Yeah, it's very musical.
The modern deathcore. Yeah, exactly. It's gone in a whole other direction. But like back then, you know, a lot of the stuff was like it was made to be scary. You know, be edgy.
Sounds scary, and then also just like dumb. You know, like you want it to make you go, oh, yeah. Like, you know, you just hear it and you're like, oh, okay, what time signature is that? What scale is he playing? Like, that's crazy. But I just like dumb breakdowns and really fast drumming and then really slow drumming. And then also to be uncomfortable while I hear it. Or maybe the fight riff, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Just caveman riffs.
Yeah. It's definitely a vibe thing more than anything, you know? Like, even can be very simple. Like, I'm talking extremely simple, and yet that's the riff you have in mind all the time, and the part is amazing, and there's like 2 notes in it. So
yeah, I think with my songwriting, it's like I'm very aware I'm not the most talented musician when it comes to playing instruments themselves. So vibes is kind of what I shoot for, exactly what you said. If it makes you feel like you want to like move your head or whatever, then I think you're capturing something that's good, right? Versus something crazy and technical, because I mean I can't do that.
Yeah, but I think you're not giving yourself enough credit, though. And while this may not be like something that would be considered technical, like you do a lot of you do a lot of like switch ups. Like, it changes a lot. A lot of the riffs are fairly short. It's like, and it switches onto something else. It's very a lot of stuff that's unexpected. It kind of hits you in the face because it's like a 1-2 whammy, which I don't know. Like, in that sense, it's like more technical than like, you know, a simple riff that's played out for 45 seconds into a chorus, into, you know, because a lot of music kind of just is that way. Like, to me, it feeds my ADHD brain, the style of music that you put together, you know,
because there's different aspect too, you know, like for you, maybe you're not technical, like from a, I don't know, like instrument perspective with notes and stuff like that, but you can be technical in the way you write songs, and in your like there's different levels of technicality. I think that's what Dom is saying. It's like your songwriting is still extremely interesting and surprising and different, and that's kind of a technicality if you really think about it. It's not everybody who can nail that. You can try it, you can change the tempo and do is it gonna sound fluid and good the whole time, though? That's the, you know, the tricky thing. So it's another way of being technical. I'm trying to say that.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I think that comes from both ADHD and I really like hardcore songs. I had a friend who Cody from Serration, he told me this when we were writing early Serration. I was like, are these songs too short? He said something to me that's always stuck with me. He's like, who cares if it's short? If it's a good song, someone will listen to it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
we don't need to repeat that. Too. Yeah, you don't need to repeat the good part. Just have it be a good part and let the song be 1:30. And then if someone likes it that much, hit play again. You know what I mean? I'm the same way. If I hear someone like that whipped ass, I'm keeping it on repeat.
And it goes for albums as well, like as much as the length of songs. Like Psycho Frame does it great. You do it great. Orphan does it great. Like these like 12 to 15 minute EPs that like they're super short, but they leave you wanting more. And like if I'm like out doing something, I'll just have it on repeat. I don't like it's not an issue that it's short versus maybe just having, you know, another 15 minutes of filler of like the same riffs being played over again. Or
a lot of the criticism I've gotten from records I've put out is that there wasn't enough. So I'm like, okay, I could take that.
That's good.
Yeah, that's a good.
I wish there was more. I'm like, okay, that's a good problem. I'll try to write more.
The comparison I'm making quite often is with movies, right? Like,
oh, dude,
for example,
these
like
fucking long ass 4-hour movies nowadays. I'm like, I can't.
Don't get me started on that.
But if
every movie shouldn't be 3.5 hours. Stop.
Yeah, and
Lord of the Rings extended version is fine, but that's
right.
kind of my only exception.
Do you remember how big of a deal it was? How big of a deal it was when Lord of the Rings came out, and people were like, "Oh my god, this movie's 3 hours long!" Like, I want to bring a sleeping bag to the theater, and now you can't go to a movie and it's not 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah,
every movie doesn't need to be that long.
It's just, and again, also sometimes it's the amount of movie. Too many, like. Sometimes like they're gonna do a series, right? And it's 3-4 seasons. It's good. Like you end it on a note. But when there's like 26 seasons of something, it's just like, really, what do you have? Like you're gonna lose what you have. Like, it's better to move on, do whatever else, stay in that universe, but differently maybe. So I compare that with an album, because sometimes it's like most of the time it's like there's 4 songs that you're like, they were amazing, and then there's 6 that you're like, they're never gonna do it live. It was for the album, and it's what it is. So
it's like somebody's favorite song, but very few and far between, you know?
I fully agree. Like, all my favorite things are like short. Evangelion, for example, 28 episodes in a movie, 2 movies if you count Death is the End or whatever that one is. It's just a recap of the season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's perfect. I've watched through it 10 times, and I'll probably watch through it 20 more times before I die. And with music too, like, if something's so good and it's short, I'm going to listen to it over and over again. There's this band I've been listening to for years. They have 2 songs out. Each song is 4 minutes. It's called Watch Myself Die. It's just a 2-minute, or it's a 2-song, I don't know, demo.
Yeah.
I listen to it almost every single day. And I'll just loop it on my headphones at work. It's so good. You know, if something's that good, I'm going to just consume it. Obviously, if people want more, that's good. It means you're doing something right, but dude, sometimes less is more.
Yes,
absolutely.
And same, dude. You should see the amount of time. I don't know if you see it, but the Suicide Silence EP there, like, it's not super long. Like, it's like five songs. It goes pretty fast. Listen to it, all the time. It works. Yeah. And as we talked earlier, so much music. I don't think it's a problem that, like, it's short. Like, they're gonna love it. They're gonna repeat it, and worst case, gonna listen to some and come back. It's better that. But to protect your image and to do good song, I would never advise anybody to do a song. Like, oh, we need another song on this. No, if you don't feel
the label wants 3 more songs.
I get a lot of friends or younger bands like in the scene or whatever will like tell me that they're doing an LP or something like that, and they're like, small, not
that many people care.
Not care, but like they haven't done much yet, or it's not gotten a lot of traction yet. But like, it's a young band or whatever. Like, this has happened to me multiple times. Like, oh, we're writing an LP, or we're doing an LP right now. I'm like, do 2 EPs. I promise it'll work better. It's a TikTok brain generation. No one has the time for a new band's LP. They want to make sure you're good. If they do want an LP, like, put out an EP. If it sticks, do the other EP or do both. I don't know. It's like an LP out of the gate is, first off, daunting to do as a musician. Second, it's like crushing, especially if it's not received well, and you like put so much work into an LP. Like, LPs are so much work. Dude,
full length concept albums always blow me the fuck. Like, how? it's too much. Like, it's like undertaking like making a novel. It's just too much. It's too. Again, maybe it's just the ADHD speaking, but I just like something that's concise, and I can just fully immerse myself into a world in a short amount of time, hop in, hop out. That's it. Like,
I agree.
It's just more like, I think it's cooler. I would rather have like 2 small spaced out EP from a band I love than just like one full album with this.
But with time in between, though, because I see a lot of bands that'll kind of just split up a full length that they made into 2 EPs, and that's not really any different. Because they didn't have like time to grow in between. They didn't there wasn't any reception of the first body of work before working on the rest. They're all kind of in the just splitting up. Like you're splitting the bad songs onto different albums. It's kind
Yeah,
of
no,
like,
I'm talking two different
besides
vibes,
the point, but-
like two different. Because that's the cool thing about an EP. Going for let's do a different vibe. Let's try. You bring up like a new work, new concept, new thing, and you go with these songs. Like it gives you a chance to like explore more and give more. More than just because an album, if you cannot do like 5 concept on it, so that's
What's the idea behind the track intro at the end of the album?
Thought it'd be funny.
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of remember being a kid again and just like hearing that heavy. I feel like every band had like that intro to their record, and it's just like, or
Just a breakdown,
seeing
like
a band
something
live. I remember the first time I like seeing so many bands live. You guys are from out east in Canada. You remember Structures?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Of course.
The first time I seen them, they had a cool intro every time I seen them coming through. Like, I feel like every band just had a cool intro, but
and on stage,
some bands' biggest songs are
like
the intros.
live exclusive intros. Like, oh, you'll only hear us play this live.
Structures, I might be wrong, but if my memory recall, like they had this amazing intro and like they would bounce on stage with their moves, and the vocalist had like always like a jersey type thing, and I remember like he would go on stage and just be like. It would just start with "What's up, everybody? We're fucking Structures," boom, and they would like just start with a big intro. I was like, that's the coolest fucking way of entering the stage I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, I have this memory.
Agree. Yeah, it altered my brain as a child. So like, I've always liked the idea of doing just a silly big breakdown intro that. It served no purpose other than to get people hyped up, but I also just thought it'd be funny to put at the end of the record. And I think I was right because people are like, "Oh, I think something's wrong."
Yeah, half the comments are, is
I
the track
think you
listing
uploaded
alright?"
everything wrong.
I love when someone genuinely think that you didn't notice that and you put it up. Like I love when people really genuinely think, "Oh, they made a mistake."
I think it also kind of serves me better to like let everyone know that I don't take myself too seriously or anything like that. It's not super serious.
Look, it's great engagement farming, if anything.
Sure. I mean, I literally just thought we did it because we thought it would be funny. That's about it.
Yeah, and it was again like a big part. Like we keep obviously bringing back like the MySpace era and talking about that. Like it was a big part that made it special, that people didn't take themselves too seriously and that they were able to like sometimes come up with funny things or merch or whatever. It was a big personality thing and way different than death metal, which is the total opposite for the most part. It's obscure, dark, and
the funny sound clips and stuff like that made it less serious.
You couldn't take it seriously right off the bat because of a clip, right?
You were talking about the Redead sample I did from Zelda. I remember hearing obviously the Doom EP and being like, "That's awesome." I think everyone that heard that was like, "That's awesome." The scream into the snare hit, and my head always played the Redead scream from Ocarina of Time. I'm like, that would be so cool. There's also this Acacia Strain song that I heard when I was a lot younger too. I don't remember. I think it's off Death is the Only Mortal, but they have this breakdown where I don't know what they did. I didn't look too far into it, and I don't think I could play guitar at the time, but it sounds like during the breakdown, it sounds like the Redead's moaning during the breakdown. And that's what it always reminded me of. I don't know if that's what they did, but it's what it reminded me of. So I'm like, oh man, it'd be so cool to have like one of those Redead screams in a song in the facet of like the Doom EP snare thing. So that's kind of what I did. And
I'd love. Oh, go for it. Sorry.
No, I wasn't gonna say anything else.
Well, I'd be maybe last thing. I'd love to maybe talk about you mentioned earlier talking with waxvessel and kind of doing a lot of this stuff collaboratively in terms of it's like the branding and like everything around like the art and all this stuff. Could you talk to us a little bit about all that? Because you, for what it's worth, all your projects always seem to have a touch of graphic design coolness to it. I don't know if that's your eye or someone else's eye always in the bands you're in or whatever, if you got some sort of eye for that. But World of Pleasure specifically has like some of the coolest fucking design work I find.
Thank you.
But I think the way this is presented is super cool. The logo itself is fucking sick. The art behind it is awesome. I'd love to kind of hear you talk on how all that kind of came together, and because from what I understand, you kind of you know, waxvessel kind of like helped you out with a bunch of stuff, but that's kind of not really traditional, you know, the having someone else kind of help out with making a logo, which is like the main thing of a band, you know, outside of the music.
Yeah, Nick actually helped with a ton of the imagery. And I think for every project I'm in, I always have like an idea of what I want things to look like. And then I love also supporting other artists to do things and make things that I really think is cool, that I'm proud to have attached to what I made. You know what I mean? And that I think really represents it. Nick kind of took the reins on dealing with art and stuff like that. He got Amy to make the painting and everything. He just like, you know, we're combing through artists that we thought maybe would capture the vibe well. And that was one person. He was like, I think this one would be really good. So we went with it. And then, just went through with the logo too. Like I had kind of made something up, and it was like it was more of like, to me in my head, Killing of a Sacred Deer was like a really scripty, flowy looking logo. Kind of, I was thinking more like, what were them? There was a bunch of other logos I was referencing, but like really like scripty metalcore kind of looking. I was like, that'd be cool. And then I was like, but I also want like the classic splatter bundle of twigs logo that you can't decipher. And it was his idea to kind of like do the mix of both, where I know it's hard to see what the logo says, but if you look closely, it is handwritten, like really flowy style, but like gross and splattered all over the place, and bundle of sticksy still. So I think it kind of ended up being really cool, having the vibe between those. But yeah, Nick had a huge part on that. And for everything I do, I always try and find an artist that I want to support, and that also I think what they create would be a good thing that would represent whatever I made. Like for the last Serration record we did on Days There, I got the LP we did. I got a guy he's never done art for a band before. He doesn't do graphic design for anyone. He makes independent horror video games. He's made they're like these really creepy point and click horror games. There's one called Water Womb World, and another one called Discover My Body. And the first time I seen it, I spend probably 80% of my free time watching YouTube videos on video games, whether it's someone playing a video game, whether it's a retrospective about a video game development, all that stuff. I came across someone playing that by this guy, and I thought it was so cool. And then I found him on Twitter, and I hit him up, and he did some stuff for us, and I asked him to do the art for the LP. I don't even think he listens to heavy music. I don't know if he listened to my band, but he was super into it. So I thought that was super cool, and it was nice to work with him. And then with World of Pleasure, I just want everything to look like it's like a Dreamcast game.
Yeah. I love that vibe. The kind of that one graphic for the World of Pleasure and Friends. That whole like kind of Game Boy, but like case, but you know, Dreamcast N64 kind of 3D render is like super cool. I
found this guy who did graphic. He's a tattooer now. He like doesn't do graphic design anymore at all. He's just a tattooer. I think Canadian. He's out east there. I'm not sure where, but he did the 3D render and everything. He made everything up for me. And like that time he was already quitting doing graphic design. So I just had these like,
you just had the renders of the 3D stuff.
Like, he made everything up, but it wasn't like complete. It wasn't a layout made for a record or anything like that. So I got my friend Ben, he runs Northern Unrest out of Scotland. He's in like Despise and Demonstration of Power and stuff like that. He did our EP prior to him, and his brother Owen did the World of Pleasure EP. His brother did the 3D render of the Oswald the Rabbit, and then Ben did all the layout stuff. So we had him do the layout for everything. So Ben's had a huge part in curating that World of Pleasure look. So I have a lot to thank him for. He's very talented.
It's another way of thinking outside the box too, right? Like a lot of the artists and people involved you mentioned are not people usually doing that kind of stuff, which gives another perspective once again. So because as much as it can be cool to go to people who only do that or do like all the same, like it's like going to the same studio that everybody goes and stuff like that, like you're gonna no matter what you do, it's gonna be similar and they're gonna keep their style. But if you go outside, like the guy you said, like that, you're like, I don't even think he's listening to heavy music. It's perfect because the person is completely outside
he's
of
gonna
it.
do something that's no one else has for sure.
I hope he has, but I'm not convinced that he's listened to the Serration record. Everything he does is he's so talented, and I hope he makes it big one day making these games. But yeah,
because there's
it was
so
really
much
cool.
work. Like something I just want to bring that up. Like you were talking about like indie games and stuff. Like I don't think people know the amount of work that goes into that. Like the hours that goes into like making like sometimes a game that maybe for some people looks simple. We're talking like hundreds, thousands of hours in projects. So like
World of Pleasure. We have like a band now. Like we have full members and everything like that. And our bass player Steph, she works in video games and designing video games for quite large companies and stuff like that. But she's been kind of pioneering half the band learning how to create a video game. So we have like a Discord where we're all going to be taking lessons on how to make video games. So our goal is to make a World of Pleasure video game at some point. And
that's so sick.
Yeah, we're working towards that right now, which I think is just fun. We're all nerds.
You toured with Static Dress, right? In the UK, they have their Game Boy Color game. That's such a cool thing for a band to. Yeah, you guys have like the VHS stuff, and I see a lot of similarities between the two bands in terms of the approach stylistically, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did like the VHSs. We wanted we were gonna get, so Matt was the guy that did the image for the record. I found him because he made like full videos of like, it looked like game over screens and stuff from like video games. It wasn't from anything. He just would make these things in Blender and stuff like that. And I wanted him to make like a full thing for the album that we could print on VHS and sell. But he ended up again just like getting out of it, and he became a tattooer and everything. So Ben was the one that made our VHS, and the image, it moves and all the songs change and whatever. It's really cool. But yeah, that was the idea behind that. Like I wanted the album to have like this little kind of like 3D video to go with it to sell on VHS, stuff like that. And then we did cassettes too that kind of look like they're Switch games. They come in like Switch cases.
Oh, sick.
Also, hold on, I got something funny I'll show you.
Yeah.
Always down.
We get the cat in Lou, so
won't complain.
I think stuff like this is cool. Like we did this. This is like the Switch case.
Yeah.
Tape thing that we did.
Okay,
Ben did all that. But like a Sound and Fury speed to these like clip it things of the record. It's crazy. I don't even know how it works, but apparently, it's like a tiny CD thing, and I think you can like get the record on your phone somehow.
Okay.
And then my other friend's band from Boise, they have a band called Dead to Rights, and they made Xbox games with the CD in it.
That's sick.
It's just like a burnt
burnt CD.
Yeah. Shout out Boise hardcore.
That's so fucking cool, man.
I love stuff like that. Just like kind of like, doing things that not everyone's doing. Here's another jewel case CD. Here's another black vinyl.
It gives people a reason to buy the thing, right? Because it's so, especially now, everything's on streaming and everything. It's kind of like, well, why would I even buy a CD in the first place, right? It's almost like you need like a reason to, I don't know, be able to show someone afterwards, hey, look at this cool thing, or have it up on your shelf or your wall or whatever. Like there just needs to be something more now, for better or for worse, but
I love things. I need trinkets. I love to collect things and buy things and have them on display in my home. I feel like a lot of people are like that too.
I feel you on that. Our apartment is kind of a museum in every single room. So definitely feel that.
Yeah, because you need like there's something missing if you don't have like something physical. Like and I know some people don't care, but it's just if we're talking about games, for example, like it's such a different experience. Like I'm big on like I have a PS1, Xbox original, all that stuff like still here, and Xbox. I'm playing Skyrim on Xbox 360 to give you an idea still.
Nice.
Even if I have 300 mods on my computer, makes no sense. But it's just like there's something about having something in your hand and like having something digital. It's fine, but it's not an experience. It's just, okay, I have it. So doing all these little Easter eggs type thing, like you hide something. I don't know. I feel like
I have a hot take, but I feel like it shouldn't be hot. I hate this new era of digital gaming. No physical releases. Yeah. It's only digital. There's no like deluxe editions where I'm going to spend $140 and get like a figure and like a steel book and you can barely buy a video game that has a booklet in it anymore, let alone a physical copy of it. And I personally, I despise that because I've been subjected to it, and I think a lot of people will be subjected to it because owning something digitally can be taken from you at any time.
Absolutely. And it's the same thing with music, by the way, right? We love Spotify today, but where's Spotify in 10, 15, 20 years? We don't know.
Something happened to the platform. It's gone.
We already, dude. I'm stuck still using fucking iTunes. It is the worst fucking thing in the world, but it's the only way I can get my digital files that I own onto my phone to listen to music that's not anywhere on streaming platforms.
Yeah,
it's just not there. I can't listen to some albums without doing this like stupid workaround that like makes me use a shitty program. Like it's just, we're at that point already, and it's I don't know.
I understand the convenience of it all, but it also kind of just removes that feeling of like ownership, like, oh, this is mine. Like I spent my money, like my hard-earned money on this thing, and now I have something tangible, and I'm gonna love this forever. I'm gonna hold it with me, or maybe not. Maybe I won't. I'll be like, this sucks now. I don't like it anymore. I'm gonna sell it. Now you can do that. You can't.
At least you can.
You can't do that with anything that's digital. I love digital, and I love the convenience, and I love being able to check stuff. I'm not dissing it, but especially with video games, I hate it.
Dude, look, if video games were cheaper at least, because you weren't getting something physical for it, maybe you'd have some sort of leniency towards it. But
it would make sense because there's less cost of production and stuff like that, right? Like when you needed to, think about if you think about it.
No. Just not having the retailer in the middle is like, games should be half off.
Why am I paying $90 for something? And I don't get anything. I could play the game, but it can be taken from me at any time. I can't. What if my PlayStation bricks or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, $90. You buy nowadays. If you buy 6 games, you can buy a PS5. 6 games?
No, it's crazy.
It's the same price as a console.
Without even games that are like still around, just things being always online, updates and all these things make it so that you can't play a version of a game that you played when you first bought the game. Like all that sort of stuff is so, I don't know. I think it's kind of tragic.
You like the game in a certain way. They do an update, you hate it, type of thing. Like there's also that, right?
Sucks to be you. Sucks to suck. It is what it is. You're like, all right, cool.
Then you don't have a choice, really. I was talking about the production cost because if you think about it, like I'm still buying, like when I'm buying games for like PS1 and stuff like that, I want everything, right? The little booklet. That's the whole reason why I play
CIB. Complete in box. That's how I collect the old video games and stuff like too. I have all the original Silent Hills and stuff, which like I got like Haunting Grounds and I got like a Grail game, Rule of Rose. Those things, if they're CIB, they're like $1,200 Canadian for a copy of it now. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's just, like obviously nowadays it doesn't, like they don't have booklet, don't have all that stuff to print. It must have been kind of expensive if you think about it, like the booklet and all the things. So like, and now we're paying more and we have nothing. So it's pretty funny if you think about it.
Yeah. My favorite thing was like, do you remember being a kid and renting a game and on the drive home, you'd read the booklet on all the options and stuff like that.
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
Can't even do that anymore.
Wow, now you have a 3-hour download wait time for you to go look up YouTube videos on how to play the game. It's a different experience now.
Yeah, you do have time, but it's different, you know. But it's just, I think it was one of the big, and it's comparable to the CDs, right? That we had in deathcore, and you know, I think it's.
Dude, I'd go straight to the thank yous. Straight to the thank you notes in the CDs. In the
read
CD
the lyrics,
booklets,
you can all
read the lyrics.
I don't know. I can't tell what they're saying half the time, so I got to read the booklet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you straight away know, you're really good. Like,
yeah, I can't.
And I'm not going on dark lyrics. I'll only be looking if it's in a booklet. There's just it's a weird thing, but it's like if I'm looking up lyrics, it'll be from the booklet, I guess. If not, it sucks to suck.
Yeah.
But cool, man, dude. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this and nerd out with us. This was
happy to
cool.
do it. Thanks
Cool for us to talk to you so early in this band. I know for anyone who's watching right now, you still have pre-orders up, right? For merch and all that. So
we got some t-shirts.
Tell the people. Yeah.
We got t-shirts and then the open PVC order through waxvessel. It closes Friday. And they're priced fairly for the record. It's the only time they'll be pressed. So try and get one before Friday. If not, don't go to Nick asking for him to make more because he won't.
That's it, man. Do you have anything else going on with anything music wise that's coming up or anything to look forward to?
Gonna have to start practicing KSD to play a show. Just writing right now. I'm just writing World of Pleasure, Serration, everything like that. So I'm in the writing process, but having a full-time job sucks and takes up 90% of my time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, hey, we'll be here for it whenever it drops.
Thanks.
All right. Well, dude, thank you. Thanks again for taking the time. It was it was really cool
fun.
talking to you.
Thank you.
And we'll keep in touch. All right.
Okay, cool. Take care.
Take care, dude.
Take care, man.